Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Aquila Beats, and today I'm going to be breaking down Joey Badass's new song, The Light, and I completely remake the instrumental from scratch. I know the song's only been out for 2 days, but I'm not going to lie, I already love it, and I recognize the sample because I actually use it in a very old beat, like 2 years ago. But let's stop wasting your time and let's get right into it. So the first thing Joey Badass uses is a sample from Cal Jader. It's called What Are You Doing for the Rest of Your Life? And this is what the original sample sounds like. So then all I did was I sped it up, added a bunch of effects such as RC20 to get it a little more distorted, cut out lows, compressed it so that there's not too much variation. But once I sped it up to 172 BPM, which is what the song is in, and it automatically pitched it up a little bit, this is what it sounded like. Next up, I did the bass guitar, which is just playing the bass notes of the chord progression that's going on, and this is how that sounds. All I really did for the effects was add parametric EQ to cut out the highs and RC20 to really boost those lows. And then next, there's a siren that plays, and all I did was download a free one off of YouTube. So for that, I just took the beginning of the siren, and then I made a second one where I duplicated it and made it unique so that I could reverse it so that it's going up the same as it's going down. And all I did for the effects was add reverb and an EQ to really cut out some of the lows and the highs, kind of just so it doesn't stick out as much. And this is what that sounds like. And then next I went into the drums, and the drums are super simple. All I downloaded was a free drum kit, the Ninth Wonder drum kit, and for the snare, I actually had to use 3 different samples all together. And then for the effects, I added RC20 to give it a little more oomph. Then an EQ just to cut out the very, very highs. And then another EQ to kind of boost some of those a little higher ones, but not the ones that are like 17K and above. And then I boosted the bass. And then I added a compressor to finally kind of glue the sounds together because it is 3 different snares. Then I got a super thumpy kick that sounds like this. For the effects, all I did was add an EQ to boost some of the highs because I noticed there were little highs in the kick, boost the subs, add a little more distortion to it, and then compressor just a little bit. Lastly, I have the hi-hats that sound like this. And for these, I made sure to turn on the time shift so that it would be just a little bit off beat. And then if you go into here, you can see the velocities are a little different for everything. This is just to give it a little more swing and make it feel more real because it is kind of a boom bap beat. And then for the effects, all I added was an EQ to cut off some of the lows. Next, there's another sample in the background, which is from Naughty by Nature featuring Heavy D, Ready for Dem. And all it is like a woo woo sound effect, if that makes sense. But I'll play it. Then for the effects, I added an EQ to get rid of the bass and the top end because there is bass in the actual sample. Then added reverb to make it not so dry. These are how all the drums and the sound effects sound together. Then there's a piano in the background, which I'm just going to tell you might not be exactly accurate because it is super tucked away in the back and you can barely hear it, but you can get the general gist of what it's doing. There are a good amount of effects on this. I add an RC20 to distort it and add a little wobble, an EQ to cut out the lows and the highs, another one to give it a more radio effect, and then some reverb. So what my theory is for the sample is that they might have actually not used a sample. They might have recreated it because there are certain parts of the song where it's definitely not the sample half-timed and it's not a different part of the sample. So I noticed that is an electric piano. So I recreated it for some portions of the beat. So during the little breakdowns after the hook and going into the verse, the piano plays, and I remade it by adding some compressors, EQs, RC20, free tape recorder, parametric EQ, a reverb, all that, and this is what that sounds like. Super simple, as you can hear, and there are actually 2 more variations, but I'm only going to show one of them because one of them is super simple. But this variation was super hard to make. Took me a good amount of time, probably like 10-15 minutes, which actually might not be that long, but I was able to recreate it using all the same effects, and this is what it sounds like. Lastly, there's a strings instrument that plays, and it sounds like this. Super simple, and all I added for effects was reverb and an EQ to cut out some of the lows. And that is the entirety of this beat. I might be missing just very few background things, but those would be super hard for me to make, and they don't really add too much to the beat in my opinion. But Joey Badass absolutely kills this track, and I had a blast remaking this. But I'm going to let y'all hear the entire beat, and I hope y'all enjoy. I'm out. Peace.